Hey everyone, this is Scott from Texas Prepper Projects, and if you've been watching the news, we are expecting our first polar vortex of the year in about a week. So if you're not prepped for winter storms, now would be the time to do it. Just in time, YouTube's most popular battery, the 300 amp hour watt cycle mini, is back in stock. So I used it to build this phenomenal, tiny 7.6 kilowatt hour battery cart on my favorite little $20 furniture dolly. I have this one set up in a 24 volt configuration. This is super simple and requires minimal tools. So stick around, I'll show you how I do it. So if you're new here, which you probably are, I am a big fan of 24 volt configurations. There's a couple of reasons for that. Number one, the total amperage to your inverter, it gets cut in half, and so the system's a little bit safer. Number two, you can get more power out of your solar system, out of your solar charge controller, because they're based on amperage, not voltage. And your wires can be a little bit smaller. You know, in the previous video, when I was testing 1,000 watt load on a 4 gauge, the wire was getting warm, not hot, just warm. So by going to 24 volt, you can run, you know, smaller wires if you choose, or just, you know, the systems be just a little bit safer because your current's cut in half. And when you recharge it via solar, you can push more solar wattage into a cheap charge controller. So the first step in a 24 volt system is you got to charge both of the batteries. If you got two 12 volt batteries that you're putting into series, you got to charge them up individually so that way they're at the same level. So that way when you link them together, they work together as a set. If you have one that's charged and one that's half charged, then, you know, they're going to do weird things because they're not starting off at kind of a same plateau. So you got to get them both to the same point and then link them together. So that way, hopefully they will go up and down at the same rate. Watt Cycle does make this 20 amp charger, and I do like it, but if you have 300 amp hours of battery and you have two of them, that means this is going to take 15 hours per battery to charge them. So this is going to take you 2 days just to recharge these things. So good unit, I like it. I got something bigger. This is a PowerWorks 50 amp 12 volt charger. There have been bigger ones than this. This is like $130. I'll put some links below, but this is what I use to charge these things, you know, within a day. So put some leads on it, plug it in, let it rip, come and check it every couple hours. Clamp on amp meter. So I can just clip on and see once the current output coming out of the power supply goes to 0, you know the battery's charged. So step one, charge both batteries. Step two, put it on the furniture dolly. This came from Harbor Freight, it was about 20 bucks. It's not quite wide enough, so I split the difference and just fudge off to the side just a little. And then I put a cargo strap around it. This cart still weighs 100 pounds, but since it's on wheels and it's got handles, we can pick it up and move it around. If you look behind me over here, I'm in my garage, which has got a little lip. So even though I can drag it, my wife and I still have to pick it up to get it up over the lip to get it into the house. But we can do that. We've got handles on both sides. We just pick it up and over, and take it inside. Not a problem. Wiring, we got to connect these two batteries together. Not that hard. Take them all the screws off. And this is a 2 gauge jumper that I made. You can buy them pre-made. You could use a 4 for this, but you know, why not spend a couple extra bucks and have big time capacity? It's about 6 inches long. Make sure it's long enough to make that bend radius, which this is a little tight, but you know, it's working. So if it was a foot long, it would take kind of the tension off this just a smidge. And here's the inverter. Funny enough, not all that many companies make 24 volt inverters that are kind of decent. So this is a Giandel 24 volt. This is a 1200 watt. They make a bigger version also, solid inverter, and Will Prowse likes them, and I've used them for a couple of years, so good enough for me. As I mentioned, this is only a 1200 watt inverter. They do make like a 3000 watt. I personally don't have a purpose for that. This is designed to run my refrigerator. That's really it. So I got a 1200 watt inverter. They'll peak to 2000 watts, so it'll kick on the startup surge. That is good enough for me. I don't have any need to run a well pump or anything like that. This is about 200 bucks. I'll put a link to it, but this is sufficient for what I need it for. I've also got these 12 gauge jumpers that I made for a different project. Also kind of overkill, but you know, why not use them if you have them? Yeah, the wires could be a little bit shorter, but these were pre-made for a different project. And that's it. It's done. Inverter's lit up and we're ready to rock. It was just that simple. You'll notice I don't have any power switches on this, those big red knobs that everyone uses, because I just take the wire off when I'm not using it. So that way I know that the system is disconnected. I'll just undo the bolt, take the wire off. I also don't have any fuses on this system. I probably should, but it's got a BMS in it, the batteries do. The inverter's got fuses all over it. So yes, it is probably a good practice, and shame on me for not doing it. You probably should. I just don't typically do it. If you want to get into solar, I highly, highly recommend the lead time any volt solar charge controller. This is a 60 amp charge controller that will do 12, 24, 36, or 48 volts. I can ram 1800 watts of solar into this system with this. For complete transparency, if you look at other brands like the Rich Solar MPPTs, which I have one right over there, or the Renologies or anything like that, yes, they're a little less expensive and they will do 24 volts, but the 40 amp Rich Solar that's right over there, still about $130, $140. And this is about 170 thereabouts. And it's a 60 amp, not a 40 amp. And it's got Bluetooth, so you don't have to buy the little separate dongle. And it'll do 48 volts. So if you grow your system later, you can move up to a 48 volt system without buying a new charge controller. So by spending $30 extra now, you get more capacity, plus Bluetooth, plus the ability to grow easily in the future. And that's it. This is a 7,680 watt hour power station that's $1,600. The batteries are 530 bucks a piece. So that's 11. The inverter is about 2, so that's 350. The cart's 20 bucks and then some wiring. So under $1,500, you've got 7.6 kilowatt hours of battery. That is absolutely ridiculous. And I built this in about 10 minutes. So the watt cycle battery is in stock, available with free shipping right now. There's a limited number of them. I've got a discount code down below. Don't wait. Buy 2 right now. If you don't want to do 24 volts, you can put them in 12 volts and run a normal inverter on it if you want. That's cool. You are still not going to match the capacity for the price for the size. Look how tiny this thing is compared to the EcoFlow Delta Pro Max that's a similar capacity that's on a cart that's that big and is, you know, $4,000 or $5,000. This is a super, super simple setup that anybody, the screwdriver, in 15 minutes can build. So get ready for whatever's going to happen next week. You know, everyone in Texas went through the blizzard. I did. 6 days without power, not going to happen to me again. So thanks everybody. Check out the links below and we'll catch you on the next one.